Hey, what's up, Nerd fam? This is your boy Gershon. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today, we're talking a bit about the Game of Thrones universe, specifically the two latest shows that have been out. How are they going? What do you think the trajectory is? And also the new movie that they've announced that's in development. Let's talk about it. Just finishing Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I just want to say this is an excellent character-driven show that is pretty damn accurate to the source material. That's awesome. The issue is a lot of the shows begin this way, including obviously the original Game of Thrones, which obviously they took liberties even from seasons 1 through 5, but for the most part we understood what was going on, even though there were some key things like Lady Stoneheart being missing, the Blackfires, a whole bunch of other things that were just not there. However, it was still enough for us to understand, especially if you've read the books, that okay, this is still going in a general vicinity. And obviously we know what happened in seasons 6 through 8. It's very painful for us still, so we're not going to really go into that. But obviously, HBO has been trying to get that audience back, which I think, for the most part, those people still come back. We're still very forgiving, and we still want to see so much from this universe. However, I'm going to say, if you are familiar with the source material, you're gonna start to cringe when it comes to these types of shows because they seem to have a particular motif, whereas they start off real close and then diverge off, and it doesn't actually make any sense. There's no rhyme or reason as to why they're doing it besides, well, this is a story I want to tell. But why adapt something if you're going to change? So, I know I started off with Night of the Seven Kingdoms because that's the one that just came out. And it's really only a couple episodes. And the director's very ambitious. He says he wants to have 15 seasons and wants to talk about when he's a kid and all that. That sounds amazing. But HBO is most likely never going to let that happen. At some point, he's going to have to abridge this, which it can still be done correctly if you abridge it, does some time skips. This can still be an excellent show if it does not fall victim to what I'm about to speak about in House of the Dragon. The first season of House of the Dragon is excellent. The second season starts to go a little weird, and not in the way that you might think I'm talking about. A lot of people had a problem with the pacing. And at first, I'm like, you know what? It makes sense because they're building up. Because when everything starts going down in Fire and Blood, they're just dying left and right. And I know that part. However, there are key changes to personalities of characters, specifically Alicent and Rhaenyra. Their lack of agency, how everything is kind of just happenstance and misunderstanding. I don't understand that, because in the books, these are not good people. Neither one of them are good people. It's not a misunderstanding of what her husband said on her deathbed. It's not, oh, you were my friend, but I had no... No, they all have their own agendas. And it's okay to portray two powerful women who are willing to do anything to exercise said power. That is okay. But it seems like some of the writers want to go away from that. Like, oh, we don't want to portray women. It's like, no. You're not portraying all women. You're just portraying these, and that's okay. These characters have been raised a certain way. The world is a particular way. They can be like this. And even little weird changes like this. You know, Rhaenys, that character is technically supposed to be half like Baratheon and half Targaryen. And her hair isn't like stark white like a regular Targaryen. It's supposed to be a mix. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, you know what? Maybe it looks weird. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. They didn't know a way to make it look, not strange. But then, in Night of the Seven Kingdoms, they show plenty of them that are Targaryens, like Maekar and all that all have a mix. Like, some of them have the white hair, some of them have the mix, because I believe they're also not full-blooded Targaryens, and they have that mix of, like, black and white hair, and they did it fine. So I'm like, why didn't they just do that in the other one? That might seem like a little small sticking point, and I'll say it's ticky-tack, but it's one of those things that, why did you change if you could have just kept it like that? And when I saw those little things, I knew larger things were on the way. Pause. Whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? So I look in the trailer in season 3, and even more of that agency between these two characters is missing. They're like aligning with each other, and let's just see if we can, let's see if we can tackle all of this together. And it's like, that's not what these characters were doing. These were bloodthirsty characters who are trying to get their way, and they were willing to kill whoever they needed to do so. And that's okay. They don't have to be redeemed. But that's where we are, to make even the worst people redeemable, and we don't necessarily need that. So I worry about where that show is going to end up. And I don't know how many seasons that's supposed to have, but obviously Fire and Blood goes quite a bit past Rhaenyra and Alicent. It's a generation or two after that, and even includes some of the Velaryon grandchildren. So spoiler, sorry if that was a spoiler, but it is what it is. It goes pretty far. I don't know how far it's actually going to go. Now, fast forward, they're talking about a Game of Thrones movie that focuses on Aegon the Conqueror. You know, the guy that came in with his sister wives and pretty much said, I know y'all never saw dragons before, but unless you want to see what they do, I'll suggest you get on those knees, right? But they want to make it a movie? And this is really a series worth of stuff. You would have to explore what happened to Valyria. Also, remember something. Not remember, if you haven't read the books, you wouldn't remember, but there are 3 different races in Valyria. It's not just the Velaryon and the Targaryens. There's one more, I'm forgetting. Look at me, I'm forgetting. There's one more that's in there. They don't mention it, which is important, but not important enough for me to remember, apparently, right? But the whole point is, there's a lot of lore here that's going to be compressed in 2.5 to 3 hours, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm not sure what we're doing. Now, I had heard before that there was supposed to be some type of Winterfell. Remember, this is back when they were just throwing out a whole bunch of ideas. There was supposed to be one about the Lannisters. There's supposed to be one about the Starks from a long time ago. It's supposed to be a whole bunch of different stories. And I remember Night of the Seven Kingdoms was something that they were talking about back then. So I'm glad that's here. But it seems like one about maybe the old, some of the first kings of Winterfell, and remember his brother that was supposed to be on the Night's Watch, and the first time they start coming into contact with White Walkers. That would be an excellent series. So I'm wondering, why not go with something like that rather than rush this? And it's like they want to expand this universe, which I'm okay with. I think all of us are okay with seeing more from this, but it has to be done correctly. It's all about the execution, or else we're going to have a lot of this in the beginning and then this at the end. And they have to learn. It's not just enough to have a property that everybody loves if you mistreat it. Let me know what you think, because obviously there's not a lot of information on that. And House of the Dragon is still going. And the Seven Kingdoms just had one season with a few episodes. What do you think about what we've seen? What do you think about what's to come? Let's talk about it. Enter the Nerd.